Welcome, everybody, to the Tipped and Stiff podcast with your hosts, Cade Almaraz and
Jarod Sturycz. And we're here with
a very lovely guest.
Probably the most attractive guest we've had.
We've only had 3 guests, so the competition pool, the lovely Kade Kozak.
Thank you for humbling me after.
Welcome to the
exactly.
podcast.
That's how it works.
Well, you've been on here before, but you've been on here only in audio.
Yeah.
So here you are now with the new and improved video.
You're able to form me in animation now, finally.
Yes.
So.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. But we, I don't know, we've been like seeing just kind of what you've been up to the last couple months. Like, it feels like the way that the world's been going, like, it's been cool to see you staying positive. I feel like you're a positive person and, like,
He is a very positive person.
Yes,
he's extremely positive.
Yeah, right.
Keep a very good aura around you.
Yeah.
Well,
because the last time we talked, because remember we had to do it twice. Remember we had to do his audio one because the first one got corrupted. Yeah, the audio got corrupted.
We left the reverb.
Yeah, it was just a whole episode of reverb
on the mixer.
Accidental horror podcast.
It was so stupid, and that was like 3.5 hours long.
Yeah,
so fucking long.
We couldn't use. It was such a waste of time.
Because then we like did it the second time, and it was still the same. Like, we still got into some shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We replicated.
And it was amazing to see. We did. And it was amazing to see like how. Because, Cade, you can be very negative.
This is true. This is true.
Cade, you can be very positive, and what's funny is when those things collide, it's like good. You know what I mean?
Positive, so I feel like.
Yeah, but I'm like a healthy mix.
Okay.
I'm like a middleman.
But
yeah,
too.
I see that.
When it comes to the Cades competing in Kenosha, we're yin and yang. It's not competition.
Exactly,
But from my perspective, it would be, and it was in character for you to say there wasn't. So, no kidding. But just to clarify, you're Cade with a K.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a K. And my last name is not Alvarez. It's Kozak.
Well, my last name is not Alvarez either.
It was what?
It's Almaraz. It's Almaraz.
Oh,
Jesus
Almaraz.
Christ.
It sounded like you just said the same thing twice.
Yeah. No, everyone.
It's not Almaraz. It's Almaraz.
I'm running on 3 hours of sleep.
You had a show last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was also out hanging out with some new friends of mine that I'm gaining from just hanging out around town and being a part of the community more.
Nice.
But yeah, shout out to Jordan.
Very good.
Yeah.
Fun night.
Feels like.
Did everything go well?
Yeah, the show went well. George's Tavern had an amazing sound guy named Michael who really handled us that night. And we also played with a band called Glass Hammock, which is my bass player / drummer friend Jake Cole's band.
Shout out Jake Cole.
Really good stuff.
Yeah. It's cool to watch him play the drums and sing.
Yes.
He just kills it.
That's so fun.
It's
cool.
intense.
Yeah.
There's another band that we listen to, Stone Field.
Yeah.
They're from Australia. I know, it's like kind of ironic.
Really?
But
I think the Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
Stones.
Right? But Stone Field is a 4-piece band from Australia. No, are they 3?
It's Australia.
They're 4-piece, yeah. And the
keyboardist, guitarist, bass player, and a drummer.
And the drummer is the singer as well. And like it's just so crazy to see that energy out of a person. Like, this is already tiring. Plus, like, screaming and like breathing on top of it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, when they play live, she is like up front, which is cool. It's cool to have like the drums have so much presence. Like, they put it right up to the stage. You don't really see that a lot. Or like they'll be lined up like perfectly parallel to each other.
That's also cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to play.
I wonder how that would work. I wonder if it'd be kind of harder to try to communicate to your bandmates, like looking directly to your left and right.
Because she has to.
Heads would be in the way and whatnot, and she can't really get up. Like, she's playing the drums and singing.
Right.
You're stuck.
They do more like stoner rock music.
Yeah.
Hard rock. It's cool, but
sweet.
You know what's funny? The first interaction that we ever had with each other was because of another person in town Jeremiah.
Yeah.
You told me to reach out to you, and you reached out to me, and I ghosted you. Because Jeremiah was telling me about you. I was like, I don't know who the fuck this is. I was like going through your Instagram, like, I don't give a fuck. I was just not in it. I was in such a pessimistic mood when
like,
you were like, hey man, you want to like create stuff? You came at me, you were like so nice about it, like, hey, if you ever want to like create content together and stuff like that. And the reason why is because I didn't know you were in Kenosha. I thought you were somewhere else.
Okay.
And so
That's
since I thought you were somewhere else, I was like, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to do shit. I don't want to do
I'm
Zoom.
not driving.
I don't want to do Zoom video content. And then here you are in person. I don't know when we met after that, though.
It was probably at the rooftop show that we did. That was.
It
was at the
You
Beatles
guys were
rooftop
hanging
show.
out there.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I met a lot of people there. I met Stone Theory, the band that I later was able to be a part of, and I'm still a part of.
You met them at the rooftop show?
At the rooftop show, yeah. I met
Jake,
Kelly and Matt were both there just to support Jake.
Yeah, because Jake was also doing it as well. That's
yeah.
right.
So like they were there. The other members were there to support Jake Cole.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing keys and singing on a lot of that.
Yeah, I think even a couple of drums for like that one song, Tomorrow Never Knows. Yeah,
Right.
that trippy one.
That was one of the last ones they did up there. And then
That's
so wild. Yeah, that is so weird.
Kenosha,
but it makes sense. You know?
Very condensed, I feel like, and it's awesome though because you get to
Some-
know everyone, communicate easier.
Oddly enough,
Yeah.
you do find people like hidden away though, and they have to like, you have to be in the right space at the right time to meet them, and you're like, holy shit, you just break into like a whole nother world. Like for instance, one world that we're disconnected from is like the entire other side of the rap community in Kenosha. Like we're tuned into only like one side of it, and there's like a completely another portion of it that does kind of all of its own things.
Are you talking about New World Order?
Well, I think that's the side that we're kind of tuned out of.
Yeah,
Really?
the
Okay.
most.
Like,
yeah,
not even like intentionally necessarily. It's just
Yeah.
that the people that we know who are like closest to us, who are in rap, and hip hop, kind of broadly too, because Trent is like more hip hop and stuff. Like the new song is different. It's more not as hip hop and not as rappy, but like that side isn't really involved with like the shows and the crowd of New World Order. But there's plenty of people who are in that too.
Weird.
New World Order actually does a lot of stuff. Nate's a great guy.
They
He's
do a lot
done
of shit.
things like merch. He's done video work.
Yeah.
He's gotten together a couple of small little like park festivals and even some big shows, I guess, in Chicago that are more like your guys' type of music, which is rap, EDM based. Yeah, it's a great community. And so if you guys ever do have the chance to tap into it,
Yeah,
be fruitful.
Yeah.
Like even another example, like I didn't really know Luca until I saw you and Matt and Jake play with them. Jacob play with them, and
He's
then it was
another
cool
guy
to meet
that
him.
kind of came out.
He's really
of
nice.
We got to tag everyone that we're mentioning
Right.
so that in the
We're
Instagram or whatever.
keeping it really local at the moment.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And I'm gonna do that as well because I just I was on Instagram talking to Maxine. You know Maxine?
Yeah.
I think she was at she played the same show that
She played a couple shows with us.
she played I think she did. Did she play with you guys?
Yeah,
or she sang with you guys?
She played on the same show with us.
Oh yeah, on the same right. And cause she did this thing on her story where she it was like 15 plus stories of like a yes or no kind of question.
Yeah.
But there were some response ones too, like how do you feel when this happens? Like are you more of a this person or that person? But like they got like deeper and more specific as the stories went on. And I was reading through it and I was responding to some of them and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Like
and
seeing
then
the answers and seeing where you're common and where you're like the non-common denominator.
And ultimately I was like, okay, this one question that I don't remember what it was, but stuck, like it really like hit me. I was like, fuck, this is the people who are responding to this are giving really personal answers.
Yeah,
and I was like
just
offended.
unloading
Did you
this.
answer it?
I answered it. I don't remember what it was though. It's probably still in my.
What good are you?
Something
And
I
then-
don't
about
know what the question was.
Hey, I'll find it. But like I asked her like it's not even the point. The point I was like, why are you asking these questions? Like what's the project here? And she said I'm doing like I'm turning the answers into something. Like there's a sort of I'm funneling it into a music project of some sort. And I was like I don't know if she said music. She said it's some sort of project that like that's how she's like getting like the energy of the community in her work. Because it's kind of hard to go out and get those answers from people every day. I mean, that's tiring. So she's like,
that's a smart way.
She's like data harvesting, but like in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like for something positive.
That's a good idea.
It could be positive.
It probably will be. I don't think
she's going to use all this information against everyone that answered the survey.
That will
I would respect
come back so hard.
To be honest, I will respect it either way.
The switch up,
voluntarily giving away your information, personal things about you.
Are your parents
used against you?
Are your parents divorced? Yes or no?
Yes or no.
Like
what's your soc?
Yeah.
What are the silly numbers on the back of your credit card?
Those 3 silly little numbers.
How is your TikTok doing? Because I follow you on TikTok.
Really good, actually.
Yeah.
We just got to, I think, just me, got to 4.4K or 3K.
Wow, that's great.
4 point something like that. Yeah, that's 1,000 more than it was. Actually, no, 2,000 more from the last time we talked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's been
that.
pretty slow, but I don't know. Maybe that's my fault for not posting every day and deciding to do kind of like the 2 to 3 day route.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it gets a lot slower that way, but. When you have a job and you're doing music shit, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of hard to balance recording weird and thinking of it too. Yeah. Like you got to be so specific so that the algorithm works with you.
Mm-hmm. And you got to use the functions too, because I saw the one that you just had the other day where you responded to somebody, and it was like, I mean, that one got like, I saw a lot of people saw that because it was very like topical. It was the one about like rock artists, like people like defending artists who like did really questionable and morally questionable shit back in the day, and being like, yeah, it's okay to like still appreciate the music and see where all this culture comes from and understand it, but like, do you realize how many fucking musicians have existed in this country?
Yeah.
And like, I think that was kind of what I saw you making, but that's like a deeper point that you made. I think that reaches even. That's what I mean. You have to use the functionality to get those deeper topics through.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm kind of glad that sometimes people kind of, try to get on my bad side by saying things like that, like saying like, oh, get over it, it was forever ago. But like, I'm not going to be mad at it because I understand that these guys have a really big attachment to these artists. But they got to understand that like they can still like the artist and like their music, but like really try to listen to other people and learn that, they were a lot more than just their music.
But who are we talking?
They have a spot in this earth.
The one band we're talking about, though.
Well, definitely Led Zeppelin.
It's Led Zeppelin.
Well, Led Zeppelin, but like the Eagles did it. People like
Marilyn Manson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hollywood actors have taken things way too far. Like, just stop defending actors. All right, they're rich and they have everything at their disposal. They can figure it out. All right, if we can figure it out, they can figure it out.
Have you ever seen that rant that Eric Clapton did in like the 80s? Have you ever read that?
Yeah, where he's like, keep England white.
Yeah, he's like, we gotta keep like, yeah, he is saying, he like says multiple racial
Shout out
slurs.
to Eric Clapton.
And then he said he was drunk after, right?
He said he was drunk. And when you read it, you're like, that's really impressive for being drunk. Like, you
just say as much as he did. I don't like what he said.
He gave a speech, like, and didn't miss a beat.
A dissertation.
He was talking about the invasion of like the Middle East and England, like this shit, like
immigrants and things like that.
Yeah, it was like he was like,
so weird.
It was bad. And then then the best part is like when he talks about it like later, like someone asked him about it. And in this interview, and he just goes, yeah, that was a weird time. I was drinking a lot, and he
blames it on that. Like, silly me just saying what was on my mind at the time. Like, why was that on your mind?
He doesn't apologize for it. He's just like, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. But it's like it's not like the feelings went away. It's like if you caught him in a closed room.
It's like he shouldn't have made it known because that ruined. He's like,
I should have kept it to myself.
I should have kept my mouth shut. Yeah.
No, I think it's better you said it, but now we just got to work on that.
Right, for us, yeah. Honestly, did it help his drinking or did it make it worse? Like those opinions.
I think it helped his drinking, but it deteriorated his brain because now he's this whole new hybrid of,
Right.
Well, he sacrificed his son to make Tears in Heaven, so that's okay.
That's what happened?
Wait a second.
Do you know the story about do you know what Tears in Heaven is about?
Yeah, it's about his son that I thought died of like
he fell out of like a building. He fell through a window.
Well, he wasn't obviously freaking there. You're suggesting On the record, Kate is suggesting that Eric Clapton threw his baby out the window.
It wasn't a baby.
And it wasn't a throw. It was maybe like a
toss.
Did the kid die?
What's this ledge here? No.
I'm kidding. Well,
I need more evidence. I mean, like,
do you have the evidence for this?
We don't need. It's an absurd podcast. We only make accusations here.
Did we talk about Jimi Hendrix being killed by the FBI last time?
No,
we did not.
Have I talked to you about Jimi Hendrix being killed by the FBI? Okay,
it wasn't
a little rock and roll history for you. Jimi Hendrix had a really bad relationship with his manager, as we all know. His manager had some really weird talking point connections with some like British operatives and even some like FBI kind of. And Hendrix at the time in 1969, late 1969 and 70, was trying to branch off and do his own label in New York with Electric Ladyland Studios and do like his own whole thing. Mm-hmm. And his manager didn't want that because his manager practically owned him throughout the 3 years of his career and wanted to keep owning him because Jimi Hendrix was making his manager buttload rich.
Right.
And when he got a hold of this, there was a lot of talk about, like, you know, Hendrix dying and whatnot. And then he got kidnapped several times. And
he got kidnapped?
It's like taken off the street or taken out of his house?
Yeah. After a show one time, like at his, like, where he was staying one night at a hotel. It was basically another money scheme because these guys that you later find out were fucking cool with the manager of Jimi Hendrix were finding ways to steal him and get money from the public so that they could get their Jimi Hendrix back.
Were they trying to ransom? Was it like
ransom? Yeah, it was a ransom. They got a ransom. It was like a couple $100,000.
Crazy.
Yeah, which
so
I mean,
you
it's
said
like $1 million
so that they
now.
could get their Jimi Hendrix back.
Right.
Their corporate property.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
That's a whole other conversation, but
yeah. All right.
Did he come back different after he was taken?
Wait, what?
Sorry.
Question about.
No, I actually have another rock artist who is connected to some very sketchy things. But what were you go on?
I definitely want to hear about it. Pin the thought. But so, he is at a hotel with partying after one of his shows. And for the past week, he's a very intuitional person, and he was telling people that he might not be around a lot longer. He's not going to need clothes a lot longer. And so, like, his fashion designer, his own drug dealer, all were like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? And later on, they find out that, you know, this guy dies from alcohol stuffed in his lungs.
Right.
You can't really do that. Like, you can't really stuff pills and alcohol down your lungs.
Right.
And whatnot. Like, you can overdose and have vomit in your lungs, but then you would need vomit in your lungs as well, wouldn't you? That didn't show in the autopsy. Guardian, the news people did a whole article on it, but then it got taken down.
Really?
Yeah, back in 1970.
Really?
Yeah, you can look that up now because that is actual something that is.
We'll have
there.
to link that.
You can even.
Yeah, we'll have to
link that.
Do you know how to find the? We'll find the
Google
article.
it. Look up Jimi Hendrix FBI killed conspiracy, and it'll be like, oh yeah, no, that's real. And it's like, why is that? Why is that so casually?
Well, that's
placed?
what they do now. They do that, like, years go by and they go, oh, it's a probable conspiracy. That's what they call it.
They
go,
say
it's
a probable conspiracy.
It's like,
which means like, oh, now you can say whatever about it, and people go wild.
Do you know Jim Morrison from The Doors?
Yes.
Do you know all the weird things about him?
All of them.
Well, he was an interesting
some
guy.
Crummy ones.
One of the craziest things about Jim Morrison that most people don't know is that his dad was an admiral in the Navy, really high up in the Navy, so high up in the Navy that in the 1970s was the admiral of the ship that went to the Gulf of Tonkin in Vietnam, the one that was suspiciously sank, that then justified the increase of resources and troops on the ground in Vietnam. Jim Morrison's dad was the person who was like the admiral in charge of moving the ship there to have U.S. Navy men get killed by the United States government. Yeah. Well, like Gulf of Tonkin is no longer a conspiracy. Gulf of Tonkin is
real.
Admitted we did that.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, all it was a false flag, a real false flag, to justify the draft to go into Vietnam. And what they did is that, and this has been done countless times before by many countries, but we sank, I think it was a cruiser, it was some sort of ship, and I think like 1,400 people died It was like a lot of people died, and it was to justify to going into Vietnam. But what's really interesting is that was Jim Morrison's dad. Now,
who made the call?
Who was involved in the operation? And there's a lot of things about how
that's fucked.
The CIA did not like the music that was coming out in the 70s and the 60s. Wonderful. That just happened again. And we're back. I'm going to just do this one. It's not...
I was just wondering if it was, all right? Figured I'd fucking try.
Honestly, I've done the same shit.
Oh, my God.
Gotta try. It's already smudgy.
We'll just keep it off. Who cares? You can see Bryce in the thing, probably.
But... The CIA did not like the music that was coming out in the 60s and 70s.
Not at all.
They did not like the fact that it was anti-war. They didn't like the hippie movement. They didn't like that there was such an extreme movement against Western values and capitalism, right? And, of course, there's a lot of operations connected to the fact of that, like with MKUltra, Operation Midnight Climax, and so this stuff within the music industry.
Project Bluebeam.
And Jim Morrison... was
Project what?
Bluebeam. That's another
Bluebeam.
one.
Yeah.
It's a sub thing from MKUltra.
And there's a good argument that the fact that Jim Morrison's family was so connected to intelligence and the government that there's a bit of like, if you're going to have a huge music movement, like the 1970s are considered like one of the greatest eras for many genres of music, right? Why wouldn't you have a hand at least choosing who gets to be up front, right? Because Jim Morrison, of course, being part of it, was like his music a lot of times didn't break through into the anti-war, anti-capitalist commentary.
No, it was still... It was artsy, but I wouldn't say in an anti-war way always.
Right. It wasn't Creedence Clearwater.
No, he still had some like dystopia kind of things that were littered in there, but it didn't really seem like he was blaming anyone.
It was more of a feeling, I felt more. Yeah. It was more of like an abstract.
And it's not to take away that
very abstract
that it's not good music. It's more the fact that
I love the Doors.
You just have to wonder if like you're moving up in the world and it's like somebody suggests that the right person is at that club to watch you. You know, someone's like, hey, goes to a studio, we need you to have a talent scout at this club in LA and watch these guys. These guys are crazy. Or in San Francisco, we need you guys to check these guys out. And it's like, you know, we'll help you. You help us, we help you kind of thing. And we'll move their career along. It's like this kid's the son of a, you know, who knows? It's like his dad does the Gulf of Tonkin. You know, who knows if his dad's like, hey, my son's a musician. I want him to be one of the biggest of all time. You know what I mean? That is my payment. I don't want him to be anti-war. Yeah, I did my deed for my country. You put about 1,400 men in my lap for me to kill, pretty much. And now it's your turn to pay me back the favor in a weird sense. Mm-hmm. And I want my son to be one of the greatest rock bands of all time.
All right, guys, I'll start Vietnam, but make my little Jimmy boy famous.
Make him a star. Make my little Jimmy a star.
Be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We'll take out a few hunch. And
so you're saying
that we'll take out a few 10 hunch.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
So what you're saying?
It's like, a trade. It's a deal with the devil.
Walk it off.
It's a deal with the devil at that point. You know?
I don't know. Last time,
it's sacrificial.
Last time we had you on the podcast, we went so deep in just crazy shit.
We went deep on local stuff because some like really horrible local stuff had just happened.
Right.
With Jacob Blake and protests and
that
was right after.
Do you to speak about just like weird shit happening in the world today? Did you see that SpaceX is talking about how they're going to put a satellite in orbit that will allow the United States to have orbital kind of like artillery that can reach like a destination in like an hour. And it's like, and people were talking about like, SpaceX was never about going to Mars, people. And it's like that, those few military
No, SpaceX was never this pretty fantasy where it's like, thank God, just in case Earth's gone, we can just all move to Mars. You really think that was feasible?
Right.
You think we're able to transition the past couple thousand years we've advanced as this current type of human race, and be able to transfer that to Mars in a couple of years?
That quick? Yeah. Because one fucking billionaire from South Africa said, like, let's do it.
Yeah, and not self-made billionaire.
Not even. No.
I like PayPal. It works. Hey, I'll give him that. Well, PayPal's good.
Hey, did he invent PayPal?
Yeah.
He also got kicked out of the company.
This is also true.
He got removed as...
Why?
Zuckerberg. Yeah.
No fucking way.
Yeah, you know how, remember in, what's it called, Social Network? Where Zuckerberg, like, fucks over the Andrew Garfield's character. Anyway, he got removed. But I was gonna say, with these orbital artillery satellites, Musk has like multi-billion-dollar contracts with DARPA.
Right.
Which is a military organization, a military branch, or not branch, military organization.
So yeah, like
a funding organization.
They
too,
all do.
And the technology.
Facebook has military contracts with the DoD. Yeah, it's here's the thing.
Sure, Google.
Like Huawei. Too. Do you know what Huawei is? Do you know what Huawei is?
Do you know what Huawei is?
Huawei is.
What's he trying to say? What the fuck is he trying to say?
It's a tech company in China that makes phones, and America just made it illegal for them to export them here. And the reason why they made them illegal is because in China, it's a people's republic, but China, to make money on the global scale, has to have financial zones in places like Shanghai and Beijing. And that's where a large part of their GDP gets created from the tech companies that are built there. And Huawei is one of them. And it's a huge company. But the thing is that the Communist Party, the rules is every board of directors that a company has to have members of the party on it. So in a lot of ways that sounds great because it's like that's the people's owning the means of production. But in real essence, it's like, well, if you make these phones and sell them to the public, we need a backdoor into what people are doing. We need our version of the NSA with full capabilities. So when our citizens buy Huawei phones, the Chinese government has access to their data.
The back door. Like how with Apple, like if you can break into somebody's phone, like if Apple can get into somebody's phone without their permission, essentially. The
way of getting like your passwords, like your personal information, your camera probably to see what the hell
they're loaning you the freedom of a phone.
When America finds out about this, they're like, that's horrible. We have to ban it. But what most Americans don't understand is that that's already the case.
Yeah.
Like Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, they have the same contracts. They do the same. Like Apple in a few months is passing. They're going to add software to their phones that can scan through people's photo galleries to see if there's child pornography on it. Now, the intention might be good. But in reality, it's
you're having everyone's things scanned.
They will always be able to see any videos or photos you take, and they can scan them whenever you want.
They're not just looking for child pornography. They're gonna use everything they find in there.
Right.
Well, do you think they would have like an AI so that they don't have to literally have someone to look? Because that'd be traumatizing.
No, it wouldn't be someone to. Yeah.
It would be
identifying.
AI.
Okay.
But it's the fact that
it's still collecting
access data. They're going to collect everything to send through it, and then the thing is that Apple has agreements with the U.S. government
to sell that information.
Not only to sell that information, there's something for advertising that they can do. But if, let's just say, the United States government thinks that maybe some of the things you're posting on Facebook are not American friendly, that information is theirs now. They're gonna use that. The DoD, the NSA, Homeland Security, the FBI has access to that information. The Patriot Act after 9/11, that's what this was all about, was having access to your phone calls, your messages, email, everything that your digital footprint has. Like, a lot of people don't understand that like incognito mode isn't real. Because your internet service provider knows every website that you're connecting to, because they're the ones that in essence are plugging your connection into wherever you're trying to travel to. And what people don't know, like in places like England, internet service providers are required to hold on to any searching data that you've ever done for up to 2 years in case there's any criminal activity that you can be investigated
in case you commit a crime.
Right.
Just in case.
Here's the thing. This whole mess started because as tech and the companies that own like the platforms and the technology and the services, Apple, Facebook, Google, people like that, as they grew more innovative and they started to branch out, and as more people got onto that and billions of people literally use these things, we had to like figure out, we realized that we never sorted out whether or not like what the law is supposed to do when things go wrong, like when it comes to infringement of rights. Like, is Facebook or Twitter owned by the public because billions of people use it and it affects so much in the real world? And who's held accountable when shit goes wrong, like when somebody say live streams a mosque shooting on Facebook or something like that, like when that happened like 2 years ago. And then when it comes to freedom of speech, how can companies have the power to take away someone's freedom of speech on their service because it's so widely used by billions of people? What are we supposed to call this thing now?
I thought the way they handled people online that were using like misinformation about like COVID, mostly Donald Trump and other like people like that, I thought it was just such a weird way to handle it, where they post just like wiki articles and whatnot, like this is the actual thing. It's like you couldn't find a way to try to explain the whole situation more, but also better, because like there's a lot more going on besides just like, no, this is what's actually real. It's like, well, no, he's funding you a lie because he's got his own agenda.
There's a deeper political layer to it.
People talk about politics, the misinformation thing, and it's like people miss the core root of that so much. First of all, you put that Wikipedia article and whatever you're saying, like, oh, let's go to the furthest extent to educate people. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
No, legitimately, nobody cares. Like, if there's a hill to die on, if you have a flag to hold up, you die with it. That's what, because we've gotten to the point where ideological liberalism is become warfare for people, in a sense. It's the red versus blue. It's if you have a BLM sign in front of your house, you're this way, and I don't have it because I don't want to associate with you. Mm-hmm. And what's happening is like interesting. This guy, this philosopher, Slavoj Žižek,
we talked about him last
time. He talks about how
purely ideology.
Purely
ideology.
He talks about how like Donald Trump, in a lot of essence, was a response. It wasn't.
No, yeah.
He really believes that it's like Donald Trump isn't just because there's a lot of ignorant people. It's more because the these liberals in the United States, the people that at least are the heads of it, the representatives, don't actually do the thing at the end of the day. Like,
like there's also a huge hypocrisy with all of this.
Right.
Like Joe Biden promising about like all of this like environmental shit. That ain't happening.
No.
Yeah, oil companies are still trying to drill into Mother Earth.
Right.
Like
he can say it when he's running, but when it comes down to being able to do it in office, there's committees, there's like, what's it called? Lobbying.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like,
I'm sure
like,
it's a whole process.
There's
just don't say it on Twitter
groups.
if it can't happen.
Well, I mean, they don't give a fuck. AOC doesn't give a fuck.
But they don't fact check that, or they don't say, oh, this was bullshit. They don't call out that guy.
Right.
But it's like, that would be good if you did. So
right. Well,
please do.
They don't call him out because Twitter wouldn't fucking take down Joe Biden's account.
Right.
But they took down Donald Trump's account. I mean,
exactly.
It's still misinformation and a lie.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I don't like what
know.
either of them are saying, but
we talked about this last time.
Yeah.
Me and you talked, we kind of disagreed a little bit with the whole, obviously it's like the lesser of two evils, still evil. You know what I mean? And it's like, to me, like, I don't care. Like, I will not vote for a very long time because I don't see the point. Because there's no one who's legitimately talking about, like, one of my favorite things I ever heard was my teacher in high school, very Democrat. I was not very Democrat at the time. I wasn't really liberal at all at the time. And I remember someone arguing with him, like, well, we should vote for Bernie Sanders. He's an actual progressive. He wants to actually get the country into more of a socialized state. And I remember my teacher's response, this long-time hippie kind of Democrat, said, I don't want to vote for someone who's not going to get anything passed. And I remember hearing that and go, if you're at that point, where you genuinely believe that you can't vote for the candidate that you believe is better because you don't think they'll get anything passed, the show's over.
Yeah, like that. That's a corrupt
system. Legitimately over.
Like,
you can't. You're no longer really at like a virtuous place. You're just kind of like, it's a strange thing of like.
That's why voting local matters, though, and people don't talk about it. They undermine it a lot, but like, you really should try to look into your representatives in your state and like
even
see
the mayor and
right.
shit.
Yeah, and honestly, some of the options they don't get much better.
No,
but you know. It's easier to get into that seat and have like someone in your local area who's like, yeah, they do a better job than whoever else that's corrupt.
Well, our big thing is that we've completely taken politics out of the sphere of anyone really young. Like, we have a lot of, you get into this weird place, we have a lot of young activists, in quotes. We have a lot of people who believe in the right things, in an essence. Like, one of my favorite Bo Burnham quotes is that he would always take the clunky college progressive over any bigotry, because in reality, with a lot of people who are going to college and don't understand their identity yet, especially when it comes to politics, the only thing they know is what they don't like. So they identify everything they hate, and then they try to fit into the things that they love. And that's clunky, because you don't have any real opinions. You just have what side that you like.
You just have a reaction. You said kind of reactions.
A lot of reactions. And so we don't have any young people who are like, well, maybe I should be my county executive. Maybe I should run for the Board of Education. Maybe I should try to be the mayor. We don't have...
there was a couple people in my high school, and man, talking to them was amazing, because it's nice seeing, and refreshing too, when there's a lot of like nihilism when it comes to politics. But sometimes I'm still questioning, like, even if my friend does get a spot in there, like, will it even make a difference because of how many people are still, in there that are corrupt? But
and then the big thing is like,
then every time you get to the sharks,
every time you get to a
one
point,
more team player,
in the smaller government, the local level, you're gonna keep running into walls where you're like, I want to do this thing, but there's a money problem, there's a bureaucracy problem, I can't do this, there's a committee that needs that, blah blah blah, all these things, resources, and then you go, well, why don't we have these resources? And it's like, well, maybe because the map of the state is drawn because the county lines the counties are as big as they are because if your farm was all the way to the west, right, you should be able to get to the courthouse in a day on horseback. All right, that's not real. We don't live in that reality anymore. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that the resources from Racine to Kenosha are blocked off from each other, the fact that those things are more collectivized, the fact that we're not like using taxes inappropriate, the fact that Kenosha as a city wars with Pleasant Prairie and Summers for tax revenue is stupid. That's really dumb, because we're getting to the point where it's like, people need to just accept that globalization is the reality. The interconnected of the world is going to come. You just have to choose how we're going to approach it. And if you approach it with this stubbornness of not actually going for efficiency and effectiveness, you're just gonna, all the problems we have now are just gonna be even more bloated when you start adding thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of more people to that.
Yeah, and it used to be that way. Ancient civilizations were far more connected and like brought together before freaking cell phones. And like it's mostly because of the way we've given all of our rights and power away to the people up there. But globalization is inevitable.
It's inevitable. The people like, oh, my dad, he would be like, the globalists. He'd be like that. Globalists are trying to take over the world. They want to turn us all into socialists.
When people like that talk about the globalists in that Alex Jonesy tone, they're talking about the Zuckerbergs of the world. They're talking about everybody who's at the fucking Bilderberg meeting. They're talking about the
Bezos.
They're talking about the demonic elite, people who genuinely want to harvest the energy of like a global community that we could have.
Well, because they want it for themselves, like,
and just use it to make money,
and use it to build like a completely authoritarian prison,
right?
Yes.
A panopticon of the planet.
You get this oligarch of extremely but here's the problem, Jared, is that we have that. We've had that for like 100 years. Like, people don't understand.
It's the trial right now.
How much money the Rockefellers had. Like, people don't talk about.
It's almost like, should we
Vanderbilt.
have like some sort of limit as to how much money you can make per time, or maybe like have some sort of investigations into how people are able to make money at such an alarming rate? Like, is it ethical on how they do it?
Well, that's the thing. The people who are supposed to do that are bought.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah, kind of.
And they can't enforce it the right. Maybe we don't enforce it the right way.
I think there's just like so many fires that they can't put them all out.
No.
Exactly.
Anyone who's in Congress right now is just getting their money and bailing. The moment Elon Musk makes that ship to Mars, they're jumping on first. They will step over people.
They're getting tired of this.
Nancy Pelosi will be in like a cyborg suit, and AOC will fall down on the floor, and she will just stomp all over her all the way to the Mars rover to launch right to
all over our tiny heads, stomping and crushing our necks.
They do not care. As many people they gotta knock down.
I was saying these elites, they're gonna eventually get tired of having to take care of us.
Yes.
That's why they're building the AI to fucking put us in its belly and fucking put us in the cradle.
Yeah.
That's why they want us to not be not be their responsibility anymore.
The next 10 years are pivotal.
Pivotal.
That's a word.
Because of
pivotal.
The way we might be taking technology in a way that could connect us in a better way, like finding out how to have the healthcare technology on a universal basis rather than hoarding it in private sectors. And
running efficient, eco-friendly energy systems.
Yeah, and transportation and whatnot.
A little late on.
Yeah, pretty late.
We're kind of cutting it close.
So, because within the next 10 years, like, they're not going to be able to go and live on Mars until 20 years. And they're not going to be able to have the prototype technology until another fucking 10 years. So it's really...
That Starship might not get off the ground for a while. Elon Musk's Starship. The huge one. It's the biggest aircraft ever built.
I want to see. If Elon Musk was really brave, he'd make that thing from like WALL-E, the whatever the fuck it was called, like the Maximus.
Oh yeah, where everyone's like, I don't have bones, I have jelly.
Yeah. Here's the thing though,
sit in hover chairs.
You were going somewhere though. So you were going somewhere.
I was just saying that like the next 20 years are really pivotal in just technology, and like shit could go really south, or it could be like this is our tipping point to where we reach a greater awakening.
It is going south. It's gonna go south.
All right.
Because here's the thing. Because we can talk about the we'll get into this. Listen to me. Because we have climate change is gonna, like, the way by 2040, 2050, they're talking about like the air quality is gonna get to a point where we're gonna have to worry about wearing masks outside.
Absolutely, by 2040.
Right.
And if I think 70% of the countries are committing to be at like from anywhere to 60 to almost 100% carbon neutral, then that would extend that time from 2040 to like 2050, 2060.
Right.
So like the action that's being taken is actually pretty good. We just don't see it that positively through the lens of America, because America is just we're just trying to brush it over right now.
Here's the issue though that people aren't realizing is that who do you think is going to invest the majority of the money into alternate energy?
William Gates.
William Gates?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. I thought you said William.
It's the people who control the energy sector. The people who own the energy industry. You know, one of the biggest companies in the world is in Saudi Arabia, and it's an oil company. Like, if you're going to go, well, why don't we move to nuclear? Why don't we move to solar? Why don't we move to wind? Okay, those people, the ones who own Amoco, ExxonMobil, BP, the ones who build the pipelines that people have to protest and they get arrested and shot trying to do, right? They're okay with that. Like, Wisconsin just passed the bill to allow, like, the pipeline that's being built in Minnesota. Minnesota and Wisconsin just passed bills that allow the companies that are building those pipelines to hire private security, like Blackwater, military people who used to be in the Navy SEALs, the Marine,
the Lakota tribe right now, they had a protest where they taped and barred all of their arms on the equipment, and they were just like I saw the footage. It was freaking scary. But they were being like tased. They had pressure points. People's like nose were being dislocated, all while they were just chained to these constructions. And that's to protect our water.
Right.
Like, they're not even just trying to have like this. It's no political agenda. It's no stand up. They're trying to save our fucking lives, y'all.
And this is the
it's
thing.
Land.
It's like
it's literally like the earth.
My point with that,
it's what we live on. And
Why does a company pour $1 billion into a pipeline unless they believe they're going to get their payout on it? Why keep building pipelines? Why continue? Trying to persuade representatives to allow more fracking? Why are we trying to expand? There's places that we're trying to expand our oil into, and it's just like, my thing is that I think it's good that we're trying to make. I think it's great that people want to move into green energy. I think that's extremely important, right? The people that you are taking money away from can make you disappear, and they will never find you. If you really were the person who got a bunch of people to really start a true green movement, that's not just progressive liberals, that's not just the squad,
a bipartisan,
and the Democrats,
unified thing.
Something that's just like, we're post the ideology of this. We're doing this because we have to, because if we don't get our asses together, it's done. And, the people who are over the age of 60, 70, right, they most likely won't see the actual horrendous things that might come with it. But people who are in their 20s, the people who are in their 10s, people who are in their 30s, they're going to face it. Anyone who younger than 30 is going to see those things. So it's like, we've seen many times people who make real civil rights movements in America disappear.
And if
something happens, though,
if that's not the biggest civil right kind of movement,
to
there
stay
could
alive
be,
and have the planet Earth.
Yeah,
that's
the ultimate civil right movement. That everything had been amounting to.
Yeah,
they'd have to be have to be an armed, extremely choreographed group.
I think it would help if there was more diversity to it, and if we somehow absorbed some people from the southern lower income people that have that strong ideology of bearing their arms, or the right to bear arms.
Yeah.
Whenever they got hung up about bears and their arms and whatnot. But if we absorbed that group of people and got them to understand that, you're going to be affected first, y'all. You guys are lower. All right. Your water supply is going to be fucked first. You're going to branch off and be flooded first. Everything bad, it's going to happen to you first.
You'd probably be surprised.
The hurricanes,
yeah.
Example. You know how that's going to happen though, is that when the coasts and shit, the southern coast and the even
rising,
when people start getting pushed into the other parts of the country, where do you think they're going to go? You know what I mean? They're going to go to places where they will meet. They will be forced to rely on the community that should be as strong everywhere in the country. And it's not about adopting them into just another political ideology. It's about finding the vast similarities between their situation and the urban millennial, or the urban Gen Z,
and hell, there's even rural Gen Z and millennials and whatnot.
All these things will need to coalesce,
and eventually I think we're gonna actually understand it. In an astrology world, which I know you're a big fan of, is
look at him.
Jupiter was at its closest point back.
Hey, don't worry.
During the French Revolution.
We meditated at the full moon, and don't fucking lie, you felt something, okay?
Yeah, he spoke to God.
Did you actually?
Yeah, and
he said good luck.
He said I fucking hate your nails.
God's on our side, it sounds like. So,
depending on the tone.
The French Revolution had Jupiter was at its closest point to Earth right around the French Revolution, which was, I think, 200 or 400 years ago. 400 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Nick, how long ago was the French Revolution?
1790.
1790.
So was that?
He's right, by the way.
So that's not 400 years ago.
That's about 200 years ago.
It's not. That's not.
It's about 300. Sorry, I'm so stupid.
How close was Jupiter when World War II happened?
I don't think it was World War II.
No, it's just, go on.
300 years ago.
Anyways, Jupiter's at its closest point. February the 22nd of 2022. French Revolution Part 2, guys.
Do you know the book Capitalist Realism by Mark Fisher? You ever heard of that book? You should read it. It would be very good for you, I think.
All right.
Because I think it would make you First,
on Amazon books?
I actually have 2 books. I think I would suggest 2 books to you. I would, for your positive side, and to get you like gun ho about something, I would recommend a book called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn.
Oh, you would love that book,
dude.
You would fucking
love that book. It's a beautiful book.
It's so good.
It's about a man who can talk to a gorilla, and it's about the story of man in the perspective of a gorilla. It's really entertaining. It's deep, and like the message at the end, it's like a quasi manifesto at the end of it, but it's done so.
Define a quasi manifesto for me.
When you get to the end, it becomes very like a call to action, for sure.
Oh,
like
okay.
When you get to the end, it's like we have to start thinking this way, and if we don't, the show's over.
Or not even like thinking this way, but thinking about things in this kind of like light. You know, like it's not even thinking a specific way. It's just kind of like thinking with your heart.
Just seeing the real, seeing the fucking reality.
Yeah. The perspective of what it means to be on the planet Earth so much that you are amazed that you don't think about the possibilities, and you're explained to why you never did, and it's done brilliantly. The other book, though, Capitalist Realism by Mark Fisher. Capitalist realism is an idea. It's kind of like a state of capitalism, but it's also more like a if the state of capitalism is late capitalism, capitalist realism is the social cage that people live in when it comes to it, right? And a lot of he argues that the reality that we live in now is not reality. When it comes to Western, this postmodern capitalism, the reality that is created is one created by material and advertising, in a sense, right? Our history is, and our future is made up by advertising and a story, in a sense, right? And he makes a really interesting point that there are things that are real, and he calls them the real. And he says the real are the things that exist outside capitalist realism, that are the only things that have the ability to make it stop. This mindset of nothing can change, it's all over, what are we going to do? There's nothing we can do to stop the machine, stuff like that. In essence, he starts talking about environmentalism, and he says the problem with capitalist realism is that in capitalist realism, environmentalism becomes a value. It never becomes nurtured. It never gets brought to the forefront, in a sense.
No.
And the problem is that when you talk about good things that should happen in society, those become advertised. You know, companies make it an important part to be environmentally friendly, and you feel like you're being a part of environmentalism by purchasing things through that company, but nothing's really changing. You know what I mean? It's for show. It's virtue signaling. None of it's really naturalized. But the only way that something can be naturalized is when the actual adverse effects start to actually happen. In a sense, when the real is exposed to the reality, to the fake reality that we live in.
I will disagree, though, where it's like no company right now is, taking actual action in the things that they say they do. Even brands like Coke, which is like responsible for, I don't know how much of the ocean's pollution. It's almost as much as the fishing nets, and fishing nets are fucking huge, and we use those.
You mean like Coke's plastic and stuff? Like
like their plastic bottles, their cans and shit, and the byproducts and whatnot. Like they had there was this one river that was just in India that was just filled with Coke bottles, and it was just clogged.
No, that's the thing. It's not real, but you feel like it's real. It's the same thing when you watch a movie where
but they've just now recently started taking action and truly investing in it, and like showing what they've done to invest in. And it's a very slow process. And hell, the CEO of Coke might die before they actually make a full on change. Not because we kill them, but just because like it's gonna take that goddamn long. But
if we kill him, will he get done faster?
I don't know. I can't say that on here.
But the thing is like,
just a question.
For instance, it's in the same boat of like when people watch movies where the protagonist is like the big evil corporation, which happens a lot. That movie gets made a ton. Like WALL-E. Like fucking WALL-E It's about
fucking love Wall-E.
Wall-E literally talks about how capitalism ruins the earth, but then capitalism gives people the ability to leave the planet and live in this like utopia where everyone's like fucking huge and is in these like hover cars. We don't know if they can even fuck, but they have chilled like babies on the goddamn spaceship.
So something's going on.
No sense. They can like slurp like sludge out of a cup, shit like that.
Burger flavored sludge.
But then the thing is that capitalism in that movie also gives them the right to come back and save the planet. That's not reality. That's not how that works. You know what I mean? Like, in reality, what will really happen is that if no movements really get naturalized, if this just keeps coming like a virtue signaling thing, if no companies, like, even if they take actions, but it's not enough to get us there, the adverse effects of ignoring climate change are gonna come. And in a weird way, what this book argues is that we kind of deserve it because.
Well, Cade, you gotta acknowledge a very important part of the movie Wall-E that actually proves the whole naturalization and the showing the real to the delusion. In Wall-E, the commander of the ship, the human commander, who is like working with the AI machine, with the AI driver of the ship.
Remember that at the fucking.
He's like
wheel?
fighting the big wheel. He's fighting the big wheel. That's weird, but he
state of the goddamn spaceship.
It's literally like, yeah. It's also like the literal technology that will probably help us run this thing. But then the captain's exposed to the real, which is the plant, which is what's real for all of us, which is the real of the climate change, which is that there is a world, there is a nature.
We need the goddamn boot, Cade.
We've got plenty of technology.
Well, we don't have enough boots. The goddamn planet.
We can't plant enough of these trees, guys. There's a butte shortage.
It's the problem.
Boot shortage.
That's all we got. We don't have that thing. Like, and this is the crazy part is like, people don't even talk about like there's so many pollutants in our fucking water. Like it's insane. There's a book called Countdown. It's a crazy book. It's about how our bodies have so many microplastics in them. Things from fertilizer, from pesticides. All these things are in our food, right? We're consuming things that we're never supposed to be in our body.
I like my microplastics. I like them.
You like them?
They make me taller.
They tingle my tummy.
We're finding microplastics in people's placenta. And we're finding microplastics in newborn babies. Like, it's becoming passed down generationally.
Our entire bodies are being modified from our environment.
Yes.
From our pineal glands being calcified to the plastic in our bodies.
From probably Coca-Cola and other shit.
Probably
people don't get
nicotine, probably too.
Is that we're seeing
calcium and nicotine?
We're seeing like every mammal in the ecosystem is being affected by this, like by their environment. That we're seeing that, we're seeing like testosterone levels in like males and mammals is like plummeting. The amount of like actual like semen to make children is going away. The amount of time like when people can actually like healthy eggs, like the window of that is getting smaller and smaller. There's actually
I think that's a pro. Like I got vaccinated when they said, "Oh, you're gonna be infertile, bro." I'm like, a free vasectomy. Sign me the fuck up. Like
a free vasectomy. That clip would be taken down for sure.
That clip would be taken down.
Anytime we mention like COVID or a vax, and then like anything else after that, like they shadow ban.
It's gone.
Really?
It's like flagged. So funny.
Chewy.
But
chewy.
they're talking about how like we're seeing a huge increase of like miscarriages. We're seeing people aren't having successful births nowhere near as much as what they used to. But the comparison is that this problem that we're talking about in the year 2021 is at the stage of when Al Gore was talking about climate change. So if we're 20, 30 years out before we really like get serious with climate change, we're like 50 years out, 60 years out before we start having a legitimate population problem. And one of the first, I don't know if you know, but the census, that this was the first time in like American history that we didn't have a high enough birth rate to keep up with the economy, to actually keep the projection, the growth of the country going. And what happens with that is that if you start having the population having the inability to have kids or people not wanting to have kids, things start going downhill really fast. Like if you thought climate change is going to be bad, add on to like so much economic turmoil.
What's nice, though, is that the key to all of it, though, is environmentalism. The key to your fucking health issues. Stop taking petroleum-based medication. Rockefeller made that shit so that you can go back, be addicted, need more, and get worse, and then take more medicine. All right? So environmentalism right there solves your health issues. Environmentalism solves the pollution issues. There's little bacteria that can eat microplastics in the ocean, like things that grow on algae that can eat plastic and use it, and then we can just eat that and then not eat plastic anymore.
And here's the problem. You're right.
We don't even need the government to fund it, though. That's something that we can do on our own. Thank you.
But when... I'm just wondering...
Podcast over.
I'm just wondering when, like, Ted Cruz or DeSantis wins, like, the next election, if that's going to be on their repertoire to figure out.
But we don't need them. We can plant 1 billion trees all on our own just by fucking seed bombing our own backyards and the empty lots in downtown Kenosha.
I agree we need to bomb something.
That's not going on TikTok either.
That's going on TikTok.
That one's going on TikTok.
We're bombing TikTok. Mr.
There's
TikTok
a classic
is gonna
quote.
get a bomb in his bum.
You probably know this quote. It's Kennedy, which is funny that this is the person who said it. He said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable."
Truly.
What I'm saying is that violent can be taken a few different ways, but I think of it more as like energetic, like
violent energy,
like frantic.
Yeah,
because manic, like manic revolution. But the problem with that is that that's kind of hard to like effectively control, like organize. If everybody's just on 10 all the time because we have a death, like fear of death, like we might actually all like die.
Yeah.
Before, like we might kill our planet at the same time. Like we might kill ourselves. We might have a planetary suicide. I think that's a little like not the best mind state to be in when trying to solve the deepest problem of like our life. You know what I mean?
No, it's not.
Like everybody shouldn't be on 10.
I'm just so.
What do you mean? We already kind of have
about this now.
You are, but I'm sure after our next podcast, we're gonna have you slowly coming over to the dark side.
I'm just so excited
slow
for
drip.
the end. I think we should embrace it. I think we should live. We should live like the world is going to. Like, here's the thing. Do you know how many people were around when at the beginning of the world? Not many. Like the beginning of man, not many. So you should feel blessed that you can be around to see it end.
You know the quote, live your life like there's no tomorrow?
Right.
That's not even the full quote.
Okay. What's the full quote?
Live your life like there's no tomorrow, and you will live your life full of sorrow. That is the full quote. You're not supposed to live like you're going to die tomorrow.
I don't live like I'm going to die tomorrow.
You can't live like the world is going to die without you able to do anything.
I don't live like I'm going to die tomorrow. I live like I'm going to die at 40. There's a clear difference.
And then you're going to die at 40.
I truly hope that's the case.
Kozak, what you're saying is that, and then in your heart, you're just like dead already.
Exactly. And also, you've just planned out like you're like almost like Hendrix. Like, someone's gonna kill you at 40. I'm gonna run over to your house. I'm gonna shove alcohol and Quaaludes down your throat.
If you do it at,
it's gonna happen now because you said it.
40, I will be ecstatic.
Okay.
It'll be like a trip. Like
you're gonna have to live depressed for the rest of your.
I'm not depressed. Life. I feel great.
Well, no, I'm not saying. See, this, but I'm depressed. I'm saying you're gonna be depressed after I don't kill you at 40. Because I'm gonna hold it over your head.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But like, I think
cuckold you.
You're gonna cuckold him. Right? With who?
Well, no, with him, because I'm not gonna kill him.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm telling you.
This is the leftist podcast today. We need to have a conservative. No, we had an podcast. When are we going to have the conservative podcast?
Alex.
When are we going to have QAnon on?
Alex.
Alex Jones?
QAnon no, not. Ironically, his name's Alex, but it's not Alex.
Alexander Kane?
Maybe, sure.
He's.
Wait, I can't. Was I not supposed to?
That's what you can say. Who gives a shit? But I don't think his would be a conservative podcast. We do need to find someone we disagree with.
It would be kind of.
And really like have a good argument.
Who would we? Because like. We got to talk to everybody. You know what I mean? Like, there's probably people who don't. Yeah, because like, The problem with like having a podcast or any platform that leans so far in one direction that it appears to like block everybody else out is that we don't get as many plays on YouTube. So
yeah,
no, it's because there's so many people in Kenosha. I really feel like I don't know what the whole psychosphere of Kenosha is like because I want to see what these fuckers think.
I bet someone who'd be really good to have that's conservative is a band I'm sure you know of called Floodplain. I think they'd be.
And that's all.
Thank you everybody for watching. We've had the lovely Kade Kozak.
Plug. Where can we find you? Where can we find you?
I am Kade Kozak. That's my plug. No. Follow me at Curly Harp Smith or just my name on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, Stone Theories on Instagram as well. We got big stuff coming on. Working on a music video soon and some singles. So yeah, just a little stuff there. Oh, and big show October 30th at the Kenosha Creative Space. A lot of stuff happening there, so you definitely want to check that out.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Everyone, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever.
And check out Tipped and Stiff Podcast on TikTok, YouTube, wherever.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Check out what's iKenosha.
Please check out
what they have going on. They've been a big help with getting this beautiful set up. You know, getting this camera.
That's www.ikenosha.com. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Bye-bye.